24 pop behemoths, 6 groups, an estimated 40 million albums. One Herculean comeback.
It is a big reunion.
It's not normal, is it?
Our biggest concern is the dancing.
Shut up!
This is the big reunion. Previously on the big reunion.
We started taking ecstasy together.
Being so young going into the pop industry is dangerous.
From the very first time I met the girls, there was always something that wasn't right.
He didn't want to be in the band.
When people Google me now, it says things like conspiracy to commit rape, which people read as rape.
You know, I realised that I was gay.
This week, we're in LA with exclusive access to the most iconic pop family in the history of pop and families. And 3 boys who are predestined for pop hugeness. Michael Jackson's nephews, Taj, Tarrell and TJ, collectively known as 3T. Their debut single, Anything, was an international smash. Brotherhood sold over 3 million copies worldwide. In 1996, they were ranked 2nd only to the Spice Girls as the biggest-selling group in Europe. And it all began with the Jackson 5. Jackie, Tito, Marlon, Randy, and the other one wrote, ripped up and rewrote the pop rulebook, then threw it out of the pop window. They were the first group in the history of human endeavour to have their first 4 singles hit #1. They sold an estimated 250 million records worldwide. Even with recent competition from Girlthing, the Jackson 5 remain one of the best-selling acts of all time. But youngest Jackson, Michael, was always the star of the show. Jackson was crowned the king of pop and completely changed the face of pop music forever.
Just seeing my uncle transform from being so fun and an uncle to seeing him morph into this amazing artist, that's when I kind of all clicked that this guy's special.
Thriller became the best-selling album of all time, and subsequent artists have failed to beat it.
He taught us pretty much all his secrets. You know, it was like the best school you could have.
Michael has sold an estimated 1 billion records worldwide. So when your uncle is the king of pop and rock, who better to give you a sequined guiding hand?
All of those things you hear, you knew how much work you had to give.
For the king of pop, rock and disco's nephews, music stampeded through their veins like a crazed heifer.
Because we would see our uncles and our dad up there performing for this massive audience and people screaming. And as a kid, it's addicting.
We would pick members of the family, so sometimes I would be, you know, Randy and Jackie, and Taj would be my father, and Tito would be Michael. So that's when it started.
I remember that my mom would get so upset because when we didn't practice, she was like, either you want this or you don't want this.
We were itching to get out then. We had major labels that, you know, we could go through. But our uncle didn't want us to come out at that time. He wanted us to enjoy our childhood.
You know, our mom was our manager at that point. She kind of was spearheading the 3T movement.
Then in 1988, after 16 years of marriage, Tito and Dee Dee got divorced.
I was 11 years old and living in a fairy tale, and everything was great, and it came to a screeching halt.
Our uncle was there to help us in that time, but it was a big transition, yeah.
Eventually, in 1992, when TJ was just 14, the boys signed to one of the biggest record labels in the world, who luckily, and by complete coincidence, happened to look after Michael too.
We understood we only had one chance at a debut album, and to make a great statement for us 3.
But another cataclysm was about to hit 3T World. With 2/3 of the album written, tragedy struck in August 1994 as the boy's mother was found dead in suspicious circumstances. For 3T, their career was now on hold.
I remember going into a room at the hospital and a doctor came in and he had given us the news that my mother was no longer with us. It changed my life.
I couldn't cry like I wanted to cry in front of them and stuff like that because I had to be the strong one. I had to be the older brother like she always told me to be.
At that young age, it's just emptiness, you know, that she's everything to us.
Once again, it was the king of pop, rock, disco and soul himself who was there to heal the world of pain in which the boys found themselves.
He kept us driven and said the best way to honor your mother is to make her proud.
Finally, in 1996, the boys had an album and were ready to release a single.
The record label wanted to come out with Why, which was with my uncle, and it was important for us to stand out on our own.
It was agreed that 3T's debut axing would be Anything, but from the outset, it was clear that 3T Records wouldn't shift as easily as Michael Jackson's.
All we wanted was a fair shot for people just to say, treat us like everyone else.
There was always something that they wanted from our uncle in order to play us. We'll play your song, but you got to get us a giveaway to Neverland for our listeners.
It was a struggle in America.
After minor success in the States, the good ship 3T set sail for Europe.
There are so many fans and there's so much excitement for us.
We never really looked back at the States at that point.
Anything was a massive hit for 3T.
Anything kind of jump-started it, that it kept snowballing and kept rolling.
With over 3 million album sales and platinum discs hanging off the wall, the boys were keen to get out and tour.
Ready to do our first show. Congratulations, guys.
And tour they did. In 1997, Europe went completely mental with 3T Mania. But once again, everything stopped. This time when news came that the trial date for their mother's wrongful death had been set.
You had to relive all of that. And you had to be face to face with the guy.
4 years after their mother's death, Donald Bahana, her ex-boyfriend, was convicted of second-degree murder for the drowning of Dee Dee Jackson in his swimming pool and sentenced to 15 years in prison.
It took some time for us to get, the motivation to get back in the studio again.
It was our uncle and our father who inspired us to continue forward, and we started, right away on our follow-up album.
We had picked out the first single. We had shot the photo shoot for the album cover. Literally, it was months away from being released. And then there's this public event with Tommy Mottola and my Uncle Michael.
This was a right old headache for Taj, Tarrell and TJ when alliteration turned to litigation as Uncle Michael went to war with the head of Sony over the promotion of his album.
Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist.
Being signed to the same label meant the future of 3T's career was far from black or white.
And he's very, very, very devilish.
Mottola denied Jackson's claims and said the real issue was declining record sales and Michael's refusal to tour.
We were put on hold.
We were basically stuck.
We were pretty much just pawns in a huge chess game.
Give me a beat!
When all seemed lost for 3T, they were able to turn to another family member, Janet. The youngest of the Jackson clan has also left her mark on the pop world, with over 100 million record sales and 5 Grammy Awards.
We literally begged for her help to get off of Sony.
Phone call that were free and clear, but we couldn't take our album with us. That stayed behind at Sony.
To let it go was really, really hard.
To work so hard to get somewhere and not be able to do anything and feel trapped is horrible. We didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. It's just we are who we are.
Coming up, it's Jaxess All Areas at the Jackson compound.
Everyone gets a sneak peek of what life is like for us.
Eternal confront the nonsense of yesteryear.
One of the things you did say was you're only going to stay for the money.
It was to be real.
And things get bad as controversy threatens the Jackson reputation.
We don't want to play your song. We don't want to play your video.
Blinkbox Music sponsors the big reunion.